Hello and welcome back to Substream News. Substreamers, I'm so glad you're here, but unfortunately the news I'm going to share with you is a little bit displeasing. Well, it all runs along a similar theme, which is we are being overcharged, scammed and tricked far more often than we'd like to think. Let's begin. First up, price fixing. Now, the US Justice Department has just filed an antitrust lawsuit against RealPage. Now, if you're from outside the US, you probably haven't heard of RealPage. In fact, I hadn't. But it's a huge property management tool or software. It essentially allows landlords to manage their properties through a digital online platform, which is very helpful for them. But they've been using it in a naughty way. So this lawsuit unfortunately accuses RealPage of colluding with landlords to basically raise rent prices. Now, Americans watching this, you might not be surprised because America has one of the highest or fastest growing rent problems in the entire world. It's just become unaffordable and out of control, and this might be part of it, so this lawsuit appears justified. Let me tell you a bit more specifically. It says, the complaint claims the Texas-based company and its competitors engaged in a price-fixing scheme by sharing non-public sensitive information, which RealPage's algorithmic pricing software used to generate pricing recommendations. The company replaced competition with rent coordination to the detriment of renters across the US. This monopolized the market through its revenue management software, which was used by landlords to maximize rent costs. What a surprise. Now, I have a pretty good quote here from Attorney General Merrick B. Garland, who said, Americans should not have to pay more in rent because a company has found a new way to scheme with landlords to break the law. We allege that RealPage's pricing algorithm enables landlords to share confidential, competitively sensitive information and align their rents. Well, RealPage has denied everything. Wow. After all of that, yeah, they're saying they haven't done any of this that they've been accused of. So this story is still unfolding and we don't know how it's going to end. But I thought it's very interesting and it leads me on to my next story. Price scalping. Yes, for traders, you might be familiar with scalping for trading, but what about ticket scalping? This term, you may have heard it, but not quite fully understand it. It is the case where people buy bulk tickets. They buy as many as they can for events that were probably going to sell out, and then they inflate the prices and sell them on the secondary market. Now, it's a huge problem if you're a fan of let's say a musician who's coming to your city and you can't afford to go because all the tickets sold out fast and they're now double or triple the price. Well, now, facial recognition promises to be able to solve ticket scalping. This one, it's a catch-22. I'm not a big fan of facial recognition software, and if you value your privacy and identity, you shouldn't be either. But if it does take down ticket scalping, that is one useful application for it, albeit controversial. So who's actually doing this? Well, it started, one of the biggest cases or case studies in the world is the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. That is Major League Baseball, and they are doing it to stop ticket scalpers outside their stadium. So basically, when you buy the ticket, you have to register your face, and facial recognition will confirm if you are the ticket holder. This will stop people selling their tickets or giving them to others. And Cincinnati's not alone. Football stadiums in Cyprus are applying this technology. K-pop concerts in Korea, which have been plagued by Chinese ticket scalpers because of weak website infrastructure. They've been able to buy up all the tickets from overseas and sell them back to Koreans. And also events in Denmark are trialing this technology. Now, as always, if you want to read more about this story because you find it interesting, we share all of our sources in the video description. While you're down there, click subscribe so that you'll get notifications or see us in your newsfeed. We hope you'll come back. I do especially. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Now, another way we keep losing or getting scammed is through digital identity, like phishing scams, and just basically scammers trying to take our personal details and commit various kinds of fraud against us. It creates so many victims every year. Now, fortunately, there are things you can do to protect yourself. Of course, there are thousands, millions of guides out there telling you how to protect your identity. But what if you're dead? Well, in a recent report, Kaspersky, one of the world's experts on cybersecurity, said even the dead cannot rest, which is horrendous, really. But the digital afterlife is a kind of an easy target for proficient hackers who are looking for people's identity to steal from. And yes, they look for people who've died to hack, to commit credit card fraud and all sorts of things like this. So you need to think not only about protecting yourself while you're alive, but what's going to happen after you die. Oh, I never thought I'd say those words. So if you're worried about your digital afterlife being at risk, fortunately, Kaspersky has also provided some tips, so here they are. One of the most effective ways to protect digital assets is to obviously maintain strong, unique passwords. Also, utilize multi-factor authentication wherever possible. Now, those are the bog standard ones. Another one is to keep a detailed record of all online accounts and set up a digital executor or power of attorney that can help ensure your digital presence is handled appropriately after death. So essentially, you work with your lawyer to store your usernames and passwords in a safe place, I guess that can only be accessed after death, and you draw up a plan together about what will happen then. Some social medias like Facebook can convert your account into a memorial account. For other ones, you probably just want to delete the account. Now, your banks and credit companies don't always get immediately notified when you die, which leaves this window of opportunity for scammers, hackers, and fraudsters to take advantage and create problems for those who are already grieving your death. It just compounds. Let's move on to another story. Okay, guys. Now, if it isn't being robbed after death that's infuriating, how about being kind of robbed or forced to pay a surprise additional surcharge for a used item? Now, imagine you bought an iPhone, right? A second-hand iPhone from eBay or Facebook Marketplace. And when you've turned on the phone and set up your account, you are asked to pay $100 to activate the phone because it's on the secondary market. Imagine the uproar. Would people pay it? Would they switch to Android? I think a lot of people would be really mad about that. Now, imagine it's an exercise bike. Imagine you've bought a used exercise bike, and to activate the bike, you need to pay $95. Well, that's reality, and that's what Peloton are doing. Now, if you haven't heard of Peloton, they're like some of the best fitness bicycles in the world, and you can live stream exercise classes and all sorts of fitness stuff through the bike. So they are like souped up. They're quite expensive, and they are very popular in the US, and they've become very popular on the secondary market. Now, Peloton actually reported that secondary sales are up 16% in the last year. So they really came to fame during the pandemic when a lot of people were stuck at home and wanted to exercise at home. Now that period's over, people are selling them on. So yeah, if you want to access the live streams and all the online digital material, which is kind of the USP of Peloton bikes, you now have to pay a $95 additional fee. Fair? I don't know. I kind of do and don't agree with it. I can see why Peloton's doing this as like a recurring source of income, or basically capitalizing on new users, but I think it's kind of predatory. And if I were to buy something secondhand and forced to make an activation fee, I would be pretty frustrated. I would probably look for an alternative. I looked at some responses to this story, and some people called their pelotons glorified clothes racks or something along those lines. Essentially, if you stop using them, they become expensive because of the fees, so they are worth selling on. They hold their value quite well. The people who buy them being forced to pay that fee, $95 in the grand scheme of things, is not huge if you use the bikes. You can earn back that through the quality of material quite quickly. It seems to be the community response. So I guess it all depends on the hardware you're buying. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Now, I think that Peloton is doing a bit of daylight robbery, but this next story is actual daylight robbery. And this is a wild one, right? How to phrase this politely? A meth-addicted person in San Francisco robbed a truck that belonged to the FBI, and they stole some pretty valuable items and traded them for $20 worth of methamphetamine. Okay, so this guy stole flashbang grenades, a tear gas launcher, surveillance equipment, and bulletproof vests. No small haul, that's pretty considerable. So after stealing them, somehow he took them on his bicycle to a nearby hotel where there's a kind of broker, I suppose, for selling contraband. And and he sold it all for $20. Now, a few hours later, the police tracked their own stuff, the FBI stuff, to this hotel and found that some of the stuff had already gone. The ballistics vest and tear gas gun, long gone. One ballistics vest costs $1,500. So this guy really undersold his stealings. Now, I'm not even going to say his name. I don't even think we should show a picture of him because this guy is just a moron. Don't steal, and also if you're gonna steal, make it worth it. Jeez. Right, let's move on to our final story, a lighter note. Okay, now I said there was a running theme through this video and it was kind of being ripped off, right? But this final story has nothing to do with being ripped off, although now that I say it, this story is nuts and it does involve ripping something off. So Tanat Tangpenawan, he's a Thai guy who sat down on the toilet the other day and felt something sharp in his balls, his private parts, and looked down to find a 12-foot python had latched onto him. Yes, this happened in Thailand, and we don't know which province particularly, but we do know his response. He screamed, he jumped up, he tried to rip the snake off, it wouldn't get off, so he got the toilet brush and beat it until it fell off, and then beat it to death. There are photos here, blood everywhere, and a dead snake. Wow, I think pretty epic response. I would probably just be freaking out, running around screaming still to this day. He's got a great quote here, Tanat, and he says, "I felt something biting my balls. It was very painful, so I put my hands in the toilet to see what was wrong. I was shocked that I grabbed a snake." He said, after the incident, he said, "My testicles are safe now. I'm lucky it wasn't a venomous snake. A cobra would have killed me. I haven't used that toilet again since." Well, good job. Next time, maybe check the toilet before you sit down. Who knows? I actually have a friend who sat down and a rat jumped out and bit their butt cheek. So just be careful. That was in England. This story was in Thailand. Who knows what's going to jump out of the next toilet? But you be sure to watch our next video, because if it's newsworthy, we'll include it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my absolute pleasure to host this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, and like half of you aren't, why not? Scroll on down, exercise your thumbs. If you're on a mobile device, tap subscribe and join the Substream News journey. We've had a nice little surge in subscribers recently, and we're so glad you're here. We are on the road to much bigger things, and we want you to come with us. Thank you again. I'm Joseph, and this is Substream News.